Hey everyone, welcome to today's video where we're going to go in over the top 10 creatures currently being played in Standard. These creatures all feature in most of the meta decks. They're all pretty strong, they have great abilities, and they basically can win games, sometimes just by themselves. That's my personal opinion on them. Hope you find this video helpful, or if you just like top 10 videos, then this is, a video for you. So without further ado, let's get straight into the first creature that we're going to look at today, and it's Seasoned Haloblade coming in at number 10. This is a 2 mana, 1 and a white, 3/1 human warrior. Discard a card, tap Seasoned Haloblade, it gains indestructible until end of turn. Now you think that would be, what would make this a great creature? Well, it is. I've been beaten down by this creature many times. Now there's a lot of destroy in decks. You've got your Heartless Axe, you've got, lots of different cards that can do it. Shatter the Sky, you've got multiple mass removal, Doomscar. But Seasoned Haloblade has that ability, discard a card and it gains indestructible. So yes, it can be exiled. Makes it a lot easier to deal with, but it depends how many exile effects you actually run in the decks and how many they are in the top decks that you might play. Seasoned Haloblade, left alone, can just keep attacking in, taking away blockers, as long as you've got the cards in your hand. Now, obviously, the plan when you're playing Seasoned Haloblade is always potentially to keep cards in your hand because it can, die otherwise. It literally is just a 3/1, quite easy to kill, but that ability makes this card so strong. This is one of the best cards for me in the mono-white life gain decks. Any sort of mono-white aggro deck, Seasoned Haloblade will definitely be in there, and it is certainly a pain to remove. Coming in at number 9 is Brazen Borough. It's a 1 double blue, 3/1 fairy rogue mythic card, but it does have adventure, and this is what makes this card for me really good. Sees play in multiple decks, blue-white flyers, anything that wants tempo, mono blue for a bit, played it as well when we had that tempo deck going around. Petty Theft here is the adventure, return target non-land permanent, opponent controls to its owner's hand. Bouncing Planeswalkers, very good if they're about to ultimate or something. This does non-land permanent, so you can bounce like anything that's really difficult for you to deal with. Brazen Borough can slow your opponent down, bounce that back, and then you can start your tempo swings as a 3/1 flyer. You can then flash it in potentially as well, and then start the beatdown plan. If there's something on the field, like a Planeswalker, playing this at the end of your turn, flash it in Brazen Borough is still, it's very strong. There's a reason why this is played in multiple formats. It's really good for the cost of 3 and having that adventure as well. Just makes Brazen Borough a really sweet, strong card. Now we're on to one of the most played cards in Standard. Now these aren't obviously all the most played cards, these are the strongest cards, and this Goldspan Dragon is very strong. 3 double red, 4/4 dragon, flying haste, nice mythic here. Not legendary as well, so you can have multiples on the field, which I really like about this. When Goldspan Dragon attacks or becomes a target of a spell, you create a treasure token, and that treasure token, sacrifice it, add 2 mana of any one colour, so you can literally attack and potentially, counter something that might be trying to kill it. It's really cool. You can protect it with maybe a negate spell or a counter spell. This is played even in mono red aggro now at the top end of it. Also played in Gruul aggro. It's played in, anything. Rakdos mid-range. It's just played in so many decks. Is it as well? Is it spells? Is it control? Because it's a beta and it can just make those tokens as well, which is so strong, giving you that extra mana. Goldspan Dragon for me. I remember a few people when I spoiled this when we were doing the top cards from the set when they come out, and this was one of mine, and someone said, I don't think it's that good. I'm like, you wait till you see this in action. There's a reason now. Like I said, this is heavily played in the meta, played in multiple different decks, because this at your top end as your 5-drop is super strong. Next on to another aggro creature, this uncommon Brushfire Elemental. I really like this card. 1/1, green and a red. Now obviously this is played in Gruul aggro because it's, Gruul aggro, one of the best decks around. Definitely in the top 3 of best of 1 standard and best of 3 standard. What makes this good then? Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. You're going to straight away get those attacks in. Because normally, obviously what's played, if it's a creature deck, they're putting down creatures and they're not really going to have power 2 or more in the early stages. And when this has the landfall effect, it gives it +2/2. So if you're playing your Fabled Passages, you're putting this down turn 3, it then is attacking as a 5/5. It's absolutely incredible how much power this little elemental can do. There's nothing little about it. If you see the picture on it as well, it's it's amazing. It's because it is. It's ferocious. It can win games. I played a game, I think it was on stream yesterday, where I went turn 2, one of these, turn 3 and turn 4, and I was just swinging with a Fabled Passage. I was swinging with like massive creatures, 5/5s. It was absolutely brilliant. Brushfire Elemental definitely deserves its place currently in standard in the meta. This is one of the strongest cards in Gruul aggro. We now go to a card that I thought might be banned just because it's played so heavily. It's Yorian Nomad Bird Serpent. No doubt this is a strong card. Those AT card decks are everywhere because of Yorian. Yorian, a 4/5 flyer for 5. Bird Serpent, that makes it the companion. Now when they changed companion, this is one of the ones that people still wanted to play. You know, they changed the effect of it. It was even better when it wasn't that way, but it's still just as good. When Yorian enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control, return those cards to the battlefield. So anything with enter the battlefield effects. Now, if you look at the top decks, you know, you've got Esper Yorian, you've got Abzan Yorian, you've got Yorian decks everywhere. I play Orzhov Yorian, currently with Tergrid, which is a very fun sort of Doom Foretold deck. But it literally is, you know, it's a great card. Anything that gives you value when it comes in, Treacherous Blessing, bounce that even. Get some more cards. It's just an amazing card. And on top of that, it's a 4/5 flyer. So it's going to be, you know, very awkward to deal with as well. Yorian, a lot of people will be loving when this goes. I feel like it was definitely a card that sort of defined the format a bit because there's so many types of this deck out there. And it's not the actual power level of the creature, it's just how much it was going to be played, which is why I thought it could get a ban. But still, when you look at the effect as well, that's still pretty strong. Now we go for one of the best turn 1 cards in standard. A turn 1 card that will literally sometimes make people quit. It is Ruin Crab. 0/3, 1 blue. Yes, this is one of the best creatures in the format. It's just so annoying. It's powerful. It just ruins your game plan. Turn 1 play this comes down, then you know they always got that either Evolving Wilds or, you know, generally the Fabled Passage turn 2, and all of a sudden you're going to lose another 6 cards. People say maybe if it was just 2 cards, it would have been, you know, a bit fairer, but because it's 3, it just makes it so good. Played in one of the decks that I'm not a fan of, but it's really good, which is Dimir Rogues, of course. Very strong deck. Ruin Crab is just, you know, the little Zloculus 0/3 that will just sit on that battlefield, never do anything else, probably will never block, will never, obviously never attack, it's a 0/3, it will just sit there and just deplete your library. There's not much more to say about this card. We all know how good this is and how annoying it is, and it definitely makes one of the, you know, the top 10 creatures currently in standard. Now we come to number 4, and it's one of the best beasts. It's Questing Beast. You get so much for this 4 mana rare. It's a 4 mana 4/4 beast. Mythic card. Now this is what mythics do for me. Vigilance, Death Touch, Haste. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage will be dealt to creatures you control, can't be prevented. And also when it attacks an opponent, does damage, it deals that much damage to their planeswalkers as well. I mean, what much more do you want for 4 mana? That is just epic. Legendary. Imagine if this wasn't legendary. Oh my days, that would be insane. It is just one of the best creatures for me that I've seen in standard. I love it. It's got the right stats. It's got everything. You know, it can attack, then block. Death Touch, trade with anything, comes down straight away, can get a win, can destroy a planeswalker potentially as well straight away. But for me, Questing Beast is just an absolutely epic card. Down to the top 3 now, and now we're going for this Serpent, one of the new cards from Kaldheim. It's Komar, Cosmos, Serpent. So awkward to deal with, which is why it's in the top 3. Can't be countered straight away, great against control decks or anything running counter spells. Now the cost might seem a lot, 3 double green, double blue, but we know what ramp is like in standard, so it makes no difference whatsoever. Stats of 6/6, amazing. At the beginning of each upkeep, you create a 3/3 blue Serpent creature token as well, so it just just spits out creatures. That's in each upkeep, yours and your opponent's. Sacrifice the Serpent. If you want to sacrifice one of those tokens, tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn, so tapping something down that would be really problematic for you. Komar also can gain indestructible. So, I mean, it just does a lot. It's so hard to beat this. I mean, when I've seen decks that have been playing, you know, the cheating trickery cards in and you got a coma on it, turn 2, you're like, oh my god, how did you beat this on turn 2? That's just cheating into play. This turn 5 or turn 6 is still going to be absolutely amazing. It's hard to beat. It's a great beatdown card. I'm thinking of building like a Simic control deck if I can and have this as my beatdown creature. This is exactly like I said about Questing Beast. This for me is a proper mythic, you know. It's got a lot of stuff on there. It does a lot of action and, you know, basically can win a game all by itself. Down to the top 2 now, and we're coming in with the Phyrexian Praetor, Voronklex Monstrous Raider, 6/6, 4/6, Trample Haste. Now, when Elder Gargaroth was playing, everyone's complaining, oh my god, it's terrible. With all those abilities, it didn't have haste. It's still a very good card, but this gives it haste. This is Voronklex, and Voronklex is just strong. It really, really messes up with a lot of strategies. And put this in your deck with Planeswalkers, all of a sudden you might be ultimate in Planeswalkers on the turn they come down. That for me is mental. You'll see this in, you know, various decks, mono green, anything that's running, you know, green at what creature base want this at the top end because it's just great. It can come down and attack straight away, which like the Questing Beast, you know, green does get some decent creatures, doesn't it? It really, really does. So if you would put 1 or more counters on a permanent player, you put twice that many of each of those counters on that permanent player instead. Crazy. And if opponent would put 1 or more counters, they put half that many, each of those counters rounded down. So you just basically turn off their sagas. You turn off so much stuff on opponents, and sagas are heavily played in Standard. Voronklex is to me is a very fun card. I like this. It comes down, you get your Planeswalkers down. I was like, yes, I'm going to ultimate Planeswalker straight away. It's disgusting, it's dirty. This is why this is in at number 2. Now, number 1 has been around for a while. It's Bone Crusher Giant. Probably the most heavily played creature in Standard. In meta decks, I think it has a ratio of like 40. It's in 48 or 49% of decks. Played in anything that really can just warrant red, like mono red aggro, Gruul aggro, anything, Rakdos mid-range, it just goes in anything really because it's just so good. What you get for 3 mana is a giant that's stats are bigger than the cost. It's a 4/3. Whenever Bone Crusher becomes a target of a spell, 2 damage to that spell's controller. And it also has Stomp as well. Stomp can be played on turn 2, deal with an early creature that you just want to get rid of. Damage can't be prevented. Stomp deals 2 damage to any target, which is what's great about it. 2 damage, you know, player, Planeswalker creature. Amazing card. This is, you know, I won't be sad to see it go because I just really like it. I've never really been bothered by how powerful Bone Crusher Giant is really. I mean, and maybe some of you are, but this for me is very good. It's a bit like Lovestruck Giant. Is it Lovestruck Beast that could have been on this list as well? That's a nice card, but for me, these creatures here take the space of those sort of cards. But Bone Crusher Giant, so much for that 3 mana. Even if you just play it as the creature, you might potentially, you know, when they remove it, do damage to the opponent. You've got a 4/3 that will trade with a hell of a lot of creatures in Standard for a start. And, you know, using the Stomp feature straight away, you potentially can kill something well for 2 mana and then just chuck your giant down. Bone Crusher Giant, super great card. No wonder it's like played in 50%, I think it is, of meta decks. You know, just strong. It's just really good, and that is why it's the number 1 card for creatures in Standard. So this was my top 10 list. Put in the comments what you think some of yours are. Maybe you think I missed some out. You know, there's a lot of great creatures. Like I said, Lovestruck Beast, Lurus could go in there as well. There's a lot of great cards that are currently in Standard, but this was my top 10 list that I find are, you know, some of the most powerful and some of the most game-winning cards that you could have in any of the top decks in the meta for sure, or any decks full stop, to be honest. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Give it a big thumbs up and support the video if you can, if you did. Shout out to all my Patreons. Love you very much. You support me that extra way. I love it. If that's something you're interested in, like I always say, just check the link in there and maybe you can support me, help me keep making videos. Anyway, you lot take care and I'll see you on the next video.